From high atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where if 1970s Bob Dylan was a special guest star on an episode of Peaky Blinders, this is exactly what that would look like. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all ships at sea. Welcome to the Blast Radius. Happy early Halloween. Here is your Decline of Western Civilization News Roundup for this, the fourth week of the 10th month of the fourth year of the third decade of the first century of the third millennium. Dateline, Tel Aviv, Monday, 23 October. Everyone's favorite angry doom troll of the apocalypse, Miss Greta Thunberg, continues to face significant backlash for her enthusiastic support of Islamic terrorism, and the world continues to wonder, how does supporting Hamas advance the cause of saving humanity from the sun monster? I ain't no fancy scientist. I'm just saying. The point being, the Israeli Ministry of Education has announced that forthwith and with immediate effect, all references to Miss Thunberg will be removed from Israeli school textbooks. Now, why would there be references to Greta Thunberg in any school textbook to begin with? Unclear, but that's not important now. What's important now is, if you want your name to continue appearing in Israeli school textbooks, maybe keep the number of Hooray for Hamas videos you post on your Twitter feed to a tasteful minimum. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Dateline Hollywood, Tuesday, 23 October. The Disney Child Grooming Syndicate announced this week that the premiere of the live-action production of Snow White and the Seven Hipster Meth Junkies is being delayed, pretty much indefinitely, to an indeterminate date sometime in 2025, according to the studio. And they assure us this has nothing whatsoever to do with lead actress Rachel Zegler's recent scorched earth campaign of derision and mockery directed at the original 1937 version of Snow White, the people who made the original 1937 version of Snow White, and anyone who likes the original 1937 version of Snow White, a campaign during which Miss Zegler achieved something many observers thought was well nigh impossible. Namely, she supplanted Brie Larson as the most intensely abrasive, notoriously surly, astoundingly unlikable actress to be starring in an upcoming Disney film that will fail spectacularly at the box office and cause the studio to hemorrhage untold hundreds of millions of dollars in the process. It's a hell of a bold marketing approach, really, when you're making a remake of a much beloved 80-year-old children's movie and you send your lead actress out to just hurl insults at anybody who happens to like the original version. Let's see if it works out for him, Cotton. Now, along with the announcement of this indefinite delay, Disney released a new production still of Miss Zegler, clad in the iconic Snow White costume, surrounded by 7 computer-animated dwarves who closely resemble the characters from the 1937 original. It's unclear at this stage what this development means for our good friends, the 7 hipster meth junkie douchebags. Maybe the studio finally figured out that it raises some rather awkward questions when you're making a children's movie around an unmarried young woman with no apparent means of support who lives alone with 7 unmarried young men, which is exactly why I first christened the picture Snow Brown and the 7 MS-13 sex traffickers. Best of luck, Disney. I'm sure the picture is going to turn out great. We're all pulling for you. Dateline Los Angeles, Wednesday, 25 October. The Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC to its friends, is facing calls for a fan boycott after announcing a brand partnership with Bud Light, of all people. Now, Bud Light, for those of you who may have been in a persistent vegetative state these last 6 months, and no, I would never insert a Joe Biden joke right here, and shame on you for expecting one. Well, it's a particular brand of barely drinkable piss water swill that, for reasons this reporter is powerless to explain, used to be the most popular beer in America, and by a fairly wide margin, and for a fairly long time. But it is no longer that. And it's been a long road back for Bud Light. A road strewn with a lot of rakes, and they've stepped on pretty much every single damn one of them, and with alacrity. Almost like they were in a rake stepping contest and they weren't letting any other bastard walk away with that first prize. The approach they've taken in their sporadic attempts at sort of resurrecting their moribund brand identity has mostly involved mocking their customer base as a bunch of barely sentient knuckle draggers who grunt and belch their way through life and have so little self-respect that they'll actually drink Bud Light as an everyday beer. And whether that characterization is an offensive stereotype or pretty much 100% on the money, that's not for this reporter to say. The point is, if this was all designed to resurrect Bud Light sales numbers, to quote an old William Shatner song, it hasn't happened yet. Reach for comment, professional woman-faced minstrel, destroyer of all things profitable, and winner of the actual worst person in the world honor at last year's Curmudgeon Awards, the Mudgies, as some people call them, Dylan Mulvaney said, quote, "I'm like a total girl power female girly girl woman, y'all. Love ya," unquote. Dateline Washington, Thursday, 26 October. Congressman, insurrectionist, and admitted liar Jamal Bowman pleaded guilty this week to intentionally raising a hoax fire alarm, causing a building-wide evacuation and a full emergency services response in order to delay the vote on a bill that he didn't like. If you're a regular viewer of this program, you'll recall that Bowman, upon being confronted with the surveillance video from a camera that he clearly was too dumb to know was there when he hatched this whole plan, first claimed that he pulled the fire alarm, which was bright red in color and clearly labeled fire alarm, because he thought it was the handle that would make the door open. Asked why before doing that, he removed and threw on the ground 2 signs that said, "If you pull the lever, it will activate the fire alarm." Bowman said, "Do I have any lifelines left? I think I'd like to phone a friend." Reach for comment, currently unemployed thespian Jussie Smollett said, quote, "Damn, that dude should put more thought into planning his crimes," end quote. Dateline New York, Friday, 27 October. Legendary illusionist and guy whose name you haven't heard since 1989, David Copperfield, is in the news this week. No, Jim Eagle, he didn't die. Stop being so insensitive. Geriatric people can be just as useful as other kinds of people. Just as relevant and everything. So relevant, in fact, that the estimable Mr. Copperfield says that in February of next year, he is going to make the goddamn moon disappear. And look, I'm just going to come out and say it because I can't be the only one who's thinking it. Oh, great. The Muslims are going to riot over this for sure. It's been a while since I've read the Quran and the Hadith, but I'm pretty sure making the moon disappear is one of the miracles attributed to Muhammad. So yeah, outstanding choice, David Copperfield. Very well done indeed. I especially like how you announced it right after the new Holy War in the Holy Land just kicked off. Very, very great stuff there. You couldn't make a building disappear, a statue. You can make Joy Behar disappear. Everybody would love that. Everybody can agree that would be a great thing for humanity. Ain't nobody gonna burn down no cities over Joy Behar disappearing. Even the Muslims would be on board with that. Fucking Copperfield, man. Had to be the moon, didn't it? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your Decline of Western Civilization News Roundup for this, the 4th week of October 2023. And with that, we send it back to my lovely and talented colleague, the hippest cryptid on the block, your friend and mine, the one and only Mr. Caucasian Sasquatch.